ceiling beams brought back to natural wood, a kitchen that blends craftsman character with modern function, shaker cabinets in natural wood, quartz counters, vintage Edison lighting. Bathrooms that feel like a spa but honor the 1920s aesthetic. Same house, same 1,400 square feet, 90 days apart. This is the story of how we bought a half-finished disaster for $275,000 with owner financing, renovated it for $72,000 in exactly 90 days, and sold it for $525,000 with multiple offers in 4 days. A 91% ROI in 3 months. The fastest flip in this entire series. And we did it in Bakersfield, a city most California investors completely ignore. Bakersfield has a reputation problem. People think it's just oil fields, agriculture, conservative politics, and 100-degree heat. They drive through on Highway 99, on their way to somewhere else, and never look back. But something's happening in Old Town Kern that nobody's paying attention to. The historic district is experiencing a quiet renaissance. Craft breweries, farm-to-table restaurants, art galleries, hot yoga studios, specialty coffee shops, all opening in restored historic buildings. Young professionals and remote workers are buying and restoring these craftsman and Victorian bungalows because they can own a piece of architectural history for less than a condo in Fresno. We invested $72,000 in authentic craftsman restoration, not generic gray and white HGTV flipping. We rebuilt that iconic porch with period-correct columns. We restored original leaded glass windows. We refinished 100-year-old oak floors. We exposed and cleaned original ceiling beams. Every design decision honored 1925 craftsman architecture while invisibly modernizing the systems. And we did it in 90 days flat. From purchase to listing in 3 months. Why? Because we had a balloon payment due in 12 months from our owner financing deal, and we wanted to maximize our annualized ROI by moving fast. Bakersfield's permit process took 10 days. 10 days compared to 2 months in the Bay Area. Contractors were available, affordable, and motivated. The market was small, but hot for quality product. Everything aligned for speed. 4 days after listing, we accepted an offer of $525,000 from a millennial couple working remotely for a Bay Area tech company who were relocating to Bakersfield for lower cost of living and authentic architecture. They beat out 2 other offers because they'd been searching for 6 months for a real craftsman that hadn't been butchered. $112,000 in profit, 90 days of work, 91% return on investment. Annualized, that's over 300%. This flip proved that secondary markets with cultural momentum and fast execution can deliver return that make coastal flips look slow and expensive. For the next 70 minutes, I'm breaking down every detail. How we found an owner-financed deal that eliminated competition. The disaster we walked into. The $72,000 budget focused on authenticity and speed. The 90-day sprint with contractor drama and heat waves. How we restored instead of modernized. And the final numbers that prove Bakersfield is California's best-kept secret for house flipping. Let's get into it. Bakersfield gets no respect. If you're from the Bay Area or LA, you probably think of it as that hot, dusty city you pass through on the way to Yosemite or Vegas. Oil derricks pumping in the fields. Sprawling suburbs with chain restaurants. Conservative cowboy culture. Country music. Buck Owens. Nothing hip, nothing cool, nothing worth your investment dollars. And for large parts of Bakersfield, that perception is accurate. The city sprawls for miles with generic subdivisions, strip malls, and industrial zones. Summer temperatures regularly hit 110 degrees. The air quality can be rough because of agriculture and oil production. It's not winning any livability awards. But buried in the middle of all that is Old Town Kern. And it's a completely different world. Old Town Kern is the original downtown of Bakersfield. The historic core from the 1920s and 30s, about 8 square blocks of tree-lined streets with craftsman bungalows, Victorian cottages, California bungalows, and Spanish revivals. These homes were built during Bakersfield's first boom, when oil was discovered and agriculture was expanding. Solid construction, real architectural character, front porches, sidewalks, mature trees creating shade canopies. It feels like a real neighborhood, not a suburb. For decades, Old Town Kern was neglected. People moved to newer suburbs. The historic homes fell into disrepair. The area got a reputation for being rough. But around 2015, 2016, something started shifting. A few craft breweries opened, lengthwise Tembler, in old industrial buildings. A couple of adventurous restaurants set up shop. Artists and musicians, priced out of LA and the Bay Area, started buying cheap homes and fixing them up. Slowly, quietly, a bohemian creative class started taking root. By 2025, the momentum was undeniable. The dining district along 19th Street was thriving. Pyrenees Cafe doing Basque food, Locale Farm to Table, Luigi's Italian, the Padre Hotel hosting events, galleries and boutiques opening, First Friday art walks drawing crowds, young professionals who work in Bakersfield's energy sector or agriculture tech, industries that pay well, were choosing to live in Old Town because it had character and culture, and critically, remote workers from LA and the Bay Area were discovering they could buy a beautifully restored historic home in Old Town Kern for $500,000 instead of paying $2 million for a condo in Oakland. The architectural stock here is the draw. Craftsman bungalows from 1915 to 1930 with all the classic details. Low-pitched roofs, wide overhanging eaves, in exposed rafter tails, thick square or tapered columns on the porches, natural materials like wood and stone, built-in cabinetry, leaded glass windows. These homes have soul. They were built by craftsmen who cared about details, not by developers pumping out tract homes. And there's a limited supply. They stopped building like this after the Depression. The market data in early 2026 showed the opportunity. Renovated Craftsman bungalows in Old Town Kern were selling for $480,000 to $550,000, depending on size and quality of restoration. Days on market averaged 25, fast for Bakersfield overall, which typically sat longer. Buyers were educated, design-conscious, and willing to pay premium for authentic architecture. Meanwhile, unrenovated but livable craftsmen were selling for $350 to $400, and distressed properties, $275 to $300 to cash investors. The buyer profile was interesting, not retirees, too hot in summer, and the homes are old and require maintenance. The buyers were late 20s to early 40s, couples often dual income, no kids or young families. Many were remote workers keeping Bay Area or LA salaries while living in Bakersfield, where cost of living is 60% lower. Some were local professionals, engineers, healthcare workers, teachers, who wanted something more interesting than a stucco box in the suburbs, and there was a growing contingent of creatives, artists, musicians, writers, who valued community and character over square footage and granite counters. From an investor standpoint, Old Town Kern checked every box. Entry costs were low, distressed properties under $300,000. Renovation costs were a fraction of the cost, contractors 30 to 40% cheaper, materials and labor abundant. The ceiling was proven. Renovated Craftsman's clearing 500 plus. Permitting was shockingly fast compared to coastal cities. And there was cultural momentum. The neighborhood was improving, not declining. The risk, Bakersfield overall is still a secondary market. The job market is tied to oil and agriculture, which can be volatile. Summer heat is brutal. You need quality HVAC, and energy bills run high. And frankly, the city doesn't have the cachet to attract investors who care about bragging rights. But if you care about ROI over ego, Old Town Kern in 2026 was a gold mine. That's the context. That's why we were hunting here. Now let me tell you how we found our half-finished disaster and structured a deal that gave us a massive edge. This Craftsman bungalow came to us through word of mouth, not MLS. A contractor we'd worked with in Fresno mentioned he had a buddy in Bakersfield, an older guy, semi-retired, who owned a property he wanted to unload without going through the traditional sale process. Our contractor made the introduction, and we drove down to meet him. The owner, let's call him Bill, was in his early 70s. He'd bought the Craftsman back in the mid-90s for $85,000 during one of Bakersfield's periodic down cycles. His plan was to renovate it slowly, retire there, maybe rent it out for extra income. He was handy, had done construction work his whole life, so he figured he'd do most of the work himself. He started strong. Pulled permits, began framing out a kitchen remodel, started ripping up old flooring, replaced some windows. But then life happened. His wife got sick, medical bills piled up. He had to focus on caregiving, not renovation. The work stopped. His wife eventually passed. He didn't have the heart to go back to the house. For 20 years it just sat there, half-finished, accumulating dust, slowly deteriorating from neglect. By 2025, Bill was exhausted. He didn't want to deal with listing it, dealing with buyer inspections and negotiations, dealing with agents taking commissions. He just wanted it gone. But he also didn't want to give it away to some vulture investor for pennies on the dollar. He wanted a fair price and someone who'd actually finish what he'd started. We met him at the property on a scorching afternoon, probably 100 degrees outside. Walked through together. He was honest about everything. I started this with good intentions, he said, but I ran out of time and energy. I know it's a mess, but the bones are good. If someone finishes it right, it could be a beautiful home again. We could see the bones. Oh, the Craftsman architecture was intact. The porch structure, the original windows, the oak floors under layers of dirt. It needed everything, but it wasn't destroyed. We pulled comps on our phones while standing in that dusty living room. Renovated Craftsmans in Old Town were selling for $480 to $550. Unrenovated but livable ones were going for $350 to $400. This one, in its current half-finished state, was maybe worth $250 to $275 to a cash investor willing to take on the work. We asked Bill what he wanted. He said, "I owe nothing on it, paid off years ago. I'd like to get $290, but I don't want to wait months for a bank to approve some buyer's loan, and I don't want to deal with repairs and inspections." We countered with a proposal, owner financing. We'd pay him $275,000. 50 grand down payment in cash within 2 weeks. The remaining $225,000 financed at 6% interest with a balloon payment due in 12 months. Or essentially he'd act as the bank, which we'd make interest-only payments monthly, then pay off the full balance when we sold the property. If we didn't sell within 12 months, the balloon would come due and we'd have to refinance or pay cash. For Bill, this was ideal. He'd get 50 grand immediately. He'd earn 6% interest on the remaining balance, better than a savings account. And he wouldn't have to deal with any of the traditional sale hassles. For us, it was a strategic advantage. We were getting the property for $275, below market even for distressed. We only needed 50 grand cash up front instead of the full purchase price, freeing up capital. And there was zero competition, no bidding wars, no other investors, no bank appraisals. The downside, we had a ticking clock. 12 months to renovate and sell, or come up with $225,000 cash. Bill agreed. We shook hands. 2 weeks later, we closed with a simple owner financing contract drafted by a real estate attorney. $50,000 wired, keys handed over. Yeah, we owned a half-finished Craftsman disaster with enormous potential and a 1-year deadline. Standing on that sagging porch after closing, I turned to my partner and said, "We've got 12 months, but I want to do this in 90 days. Well, he looked at me like I was crazy. 90 days? That's aggressive even for Bakersfield. Fool, I said. Run, if we can pull it off, the annualized ROI will be insane. And every month we don't hold, this is money saved." He nodded. "All right, 90 days. Let's make it happen." The clock started ticking. Let me walk you through exactly what we bought, because you need to see the starting point to appreciate how much work this was and how fast we moved. From the street, the house had the classic Craftsman silhouette. Low-pitched gabled roof with wide overhanging eaves and exposed rafter tails. That distinctive horizontal profile that makes Craftsman's instantly recognizable. The front porch ran the full width of the house with those iconic square tapered columns. but everything was falling apart. The porch was sinking. The columns, originally solid wood pillars sitting on brick pedestals, had rotted at the base from years of moisture exposure. One column was tilted at a 10-degree angle. The porch decking was warped and cracked, some boards completely rotted through. The railing was missing sections. Standing on that porch felt dangerous, like it might collapse. The roof was old composition shingles, probably 25 years past their prime. Shingles were curling, some missing entirely. You could see dark patches where water had leaked and stained the wood underneath. In Bakersfield, where summer sun is relentless, old roofs fail fast. The siding was original wood lap siding, narrow horizontal boards overlapping each other, classic craftsman detail, but it was cracked and splitting from decades of heat and UV exposure. The paint, once probably a nice craftsman color scheme, had faded to this washed-out gray-brown and was peeling in sheets. The windows were a mix. Some were original leaded glass, small panes held together with lead came, beautiful craftsmanship from 1925, but several panes were cracked or broken. Other windows had been replaced in the 80s or 90s with cheap aluminum frames that completely broke the historic character. A few windows were painted shut, multiple layers of paint sealing them closed. The front yard was dead. Brown dirt and patchy dead grass. A couple of scraggly bushes. No design, no curb appeal, just neglect. We unlocked the solid wood front door, original with beautiful panel details, and stepped inside. The smell hit immediately. Dust, stale air, and a faint mildew scent. Windows had been closed for years. The living room was straight ahead, maybe 14 by 16 feet. The original oak hardwood floors were there, wide plank, probably quarter-sawn oak, gorgeous material. But they were scratched, stained, and the finish had worn off in high-traffic areas. In some spots near windows, water damage had turned the wood gray. The ceiling was the first indicator of what made this house special. Exposed beams running across the ceiling, not decorative fake beams, but actual structural beams that were part of the original framing. Classic craftsman detail. But they'd been painted over in a flat beige that completely obscured the wood grain. Such a waste. There was a brick fireplace on one wall with a simple wood mantel. The brick had been covered with a skim coat of plaster and painted white. The craftsmanship was buried under layers of bad decisions. Built-in cabinetry flanked the fireplace, original to the house, probably built in 1925. Solid wood construction with leaded glass cabinet doors. But it had been painted multiple times in different colors, currently a sad sage green. The wood grain was completely hidden. The dining room flowed off the living room through an original cased opening with simple craftsman trim. Same oak floors, same issues, same exposed beams, painted beige. A built-in corner hutch, also painted over. Then we walked into the kitchen, and this is where Bill's 1995 renovation had frozen in time. He'd gutted the original kitchen and started framing a new one, but never finished. Some cabinets were installed, cheap laminate boxes from a big box store, doors hanging crooked or missing entirely. Countertops were particle board with no surface material, literally just the substrate exposed. The backsplash area was bare drywall, unpainted. The floor was a mix of old linoleum in some areas and bare plywood subfloor in others. There was an old white refrigerator humming in the corner. An electric range with one working burner, no dishwasher, a stainless sink sitting in a hole cut in the particle board counter, plumbing connected but leaking underneath, one overhead light fixture with a bare bulb. The kitchen had been opened up slightly to the dining room, which was smart, but the execution was incomplete. You could see where walls had been removed, but the framing was exposed, never drywalled or finished. Down a short hallway toward the bedrooms, the oak flooring continued. 2 bedrooms, both small, maybe 11 by 12 feet each. Same floor issues. The walls were drywall, but had never been painted, just gray primer from whenever Bill had last worked on them. The closets were reach-in style, original built-ins with solid wood construction. The main bathroom was tiny, maybe 6 by 8 feet. White ceramic tile on the floor and halfway up the walls. Basic 1970s or 80s tile, nothing historic. A fiberglass tub shower combo. Pedestal sink, standard toilet. Everything was old, but functional. The medicine cabinet mirror was spotted with age. There was a second smaller bathroom, basically a half bath with a toilet and pedestal sink. Same basic tile, same dated fixtures, back to systems. The electrical panel was in the kitchen, an old 60-amp service with cloth-wrap wiring in some areas and Romex in others. Definitely needed upgrading. The plumbing was a mix of galvanized steel and copper. Galvanized sections showed rust stains and low pressure. No central HVAC at all. Just a couple of old window air conditioning units and some space heaters for winter. In Bakersfield, where temps hit 110 in summer and drop to the 30s in winter, that's unacceptable. The roof framing in the attic looked solid. Old-growth lumber, strong, but insulation was minimal, maybe R13, and there was evidence of water intrusion in sections where the roof had leaked. Out back was a small yard, maybe 20 by 30 feet. Chain-link fence. No landscaping, no patio, no outdoor living space. Just dirt and weeds. After 2 hours of inspection with our contractor, here's what we concluded. Problems. Porch needed complete rebuilding. Roof needed replacement. Siding needed extensive repair. Multiple windows needed restoration or replacement. Floors needed refinishing. All exposed beams and built-ins needed stripping and refinishing. Kitchen was a gut job, barely started. Bathrooms needed full renovation. Electrical needed upgrading. Plumbing needed work. HVAC needed full installation. Paint everywhere. Landscaping from scratch. But the gems were real. The Craftsman architectural bones were intact. Porch structure, original windows, exposed beams, built-in cabinetry, oak floors. The layout was functional. The location was 2 blocks from the dining district, walking distance to everything Old Town Kern had to offer. This wasn't a teardown. This was a restoration project waiting for someone with vision and speed. Our contractor looked at the scope and said, "Rupke, this is a $70,000 to $80,000 renovation, minimum. If you want it done in 90 days, you're going to need multiple crews working simultaneously, and we'll need to pay for faster timelines. It's doable, but it'll be intense." I looked at my partner. He nodded. "The $72,000 budget, 90 days. Let's go." All right, pause here for a second because I need to know where your head's at. Comment below. Have you ever considered investing in Bakersfield, or do you automatically dismiss it? Be honest with me. Is it actual strategy, like you've looked at the numbers and decided it doesn't work for you? Or is it just bias because Bakersfield doesn't sound sexy? I'm genuinely curious. What do you think about markets like this, the overlooked secondary cities that don't get the hype? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your perspective before we keep going. After closing, we spent 2 days building the budget with our contractor. This had to be surgical. $72,000 total, 90 days to completion. Every dollar allocated to maximize either authentic craftsman character or speed of execution. Here's exactly where the money went. Exterior restoration, $18,000 total. This was our biggest single investment and non-negotiable. The exterior defines craftsman architecture, and curb appeal sells homes before buyers even walk inside. Porch rebuild was $8,000. We removed the rotting columns completely, poured new concrete footings and brick pedestals, then installed new custom-made columns. Not off-the-shelf Home Depot posts. We hired a millwork company to build authentic, square-tapered Craftsman columns, matching the original proportions. 10 inches square at the base, tapering to 8 inches at the top. Solid Douglas fir construction, painted in classic chocolate brown. New porch decking in tongue-and-groove fir, stained and sealed. New railings with square balusters matching the column style. This porch rebuild alone transformed the house from derelict to dignified. Roof replacement was $5,000. We went with composition shingles, not cheap, but good 30-year architectural shingles in a warm brown that complemented the Craftsman palette. Stripped the old roof completely, replaced damaged decking, installed new underlayment, flashing around the chimney, then laid shingles. Clean, tight, professional. Siding repair and paint was $4,000. A carpenter spent a week replacing cracked boards, filling gaps, caulking everything. Then, painters applied a historically accurate Craftsman color scheme. Sage green body, warm cream trim and window frames, chocolate brown for the porch columns and front door. The transformation was immediate. Suddenly, it looked like a professionally restored historic home instead of an abandoned wreck. Window restoration was $1,000. We sent the original leaded glass windows to a specialist who repaired broken panes, re-leaded sections that were separating, cleaned everything, and re-puttied. The windows came back looking like new, but honoring the 100-year-old craftsmanship. For the windows that had been replaced with cheap aluminum, we left them as is for budget reasons. We'd need another $3,000 to replace them all with wood, and that didn't pencil out. Kitchen renovation, $24,000. This was our second biggest expense. Kitchens sell homes, especially to the young professional buyer demographic in Old Town Kern. But we couldn't do a generic modern kitchen. That would kill the craftsman character. We designed a kitchen that blended period-appropriate details with modern function. Demo and framing was $2,000. Ripped out bills, half-finished cabinets and counters, cleaned up the framing where walls had been opened, drywalled and finished everything properly. Cabinets were $10,000, semi-custom shaker style and natural oak with a clear finish so the wood grain showed. Very craftsman. We did lowers around the perimeter and a small island in the center. No uppers on one wall to keep it open and airy. Hardware was oil-rubbed bronze in simple cup pulls and knobs. Countertops were $6,000, quartz in a honed white finish that mimicked historic soapstone, farmhouse-style undermount sink. The island had butcher block on top for warmth and functionality. Appliances were $4,000, stainless steel package but not luxury brands. Gas range, refrigerator, dishwasher, microwave, functional and modern but understated. Backsplash was white subway tile, classic and timeless, $1,000. Lighting was vintage-style Edison bulb pendants over the island and recessed cans in the ceiling, $1,000. 2 bathrooms, $14,000 total, 7 each. We did full gut renovations. Classic white subway tile on the walls, hexagonal floor tile in white and black for vintage character. Walk-in showers with simple clear glass panels. Vanities were simple wood pieces in oak to match the kitchen. Vessel sinks, fixtures in oil-rubbed bronze, mirrors with wood frames. The result felt spa-like but with clear nods to the 1920s. Hardwood floor refinishing, $6,000. This was one of our highest ROI moves. We hired professionals who sanded the oak floors in multiple passes, getting down to fresh wood, patched and replaced damaged sections near windows with reclaimed oak that matched the width and grain, stained everything a medium walnut tone to bring out the grain and warmth. 3 coats of high-traffic polyurethane. When they finished, those floors looked like glass. Absolute game changer. Interior paint, $4,000. We went with warm earth tones that are period appropriate for craftsman homes. The walls were painted a soft mustard yellow in the living areas. Sounds bold, but it's a classic craftsman color, and it glows beautifully in natural light. Trim and built-ins were painted cream. Ceilings were white. The exposed beams were stripped of that ugly beige paint, sanded down to natural wood, and finished with a clear matte sealer so the grain showed. The built-in cabinetry was also stripped and refinished in natural oak. Suddenly, all that beautiful original craftsmanship was visible again. Electrical system upgrade, $3,000. Upgraded the panel to 150 amps, enough for modern loads without overbuilding. Ran new circuits to the kitchen, bathrooms and bedrooms. replaced old cloth wiring in critical areas, installed GFCI outlets in wet areas, new switches and outlets throughout, in period-appropriate cover plates, not modern Decora style, but classic toggle switches in bronze finish. Everything passed inspection. HVAC installation, $3,000. This was critical in Bakersfield. We installed a ductless mini-split system, one outdoor compressor with 3 indoor air handler units placed strategically. High efficiency, quiet, and way cheaper than running ductwork through the whole house. 1 unit in the living room, 1 in the kitchen dining area, 1 in the bedroom wing. Keeps the house cool in summer and warm in winter without destroying the budget. Landscaping, $2,000. We xeriscaped the front yard with drought-tolerant plants, agave, ornamental grasses, lavender, a couple of small trees. Gravel mulch beds, drip irrigation. Very low maintenance and appropriate for Bakersfield's desert climate. Landscape lighting along the front path. Miscellaneous, $2,000. Permits, dumpster rental, cleaning, small repairs, contingency for surprises. Total, $72,000. Every dollar focused on authentic craftsman character or essential modern systems. This wasn't about bells and whistles. This was about respecting the architecture, executing fast, and delivering a product that would make buyers fall in love. Here's another question for you, and I want you to really think about it. If you had to choose between investing $72,000 in this Craftsman bungalow in Bakersfield, authentic historic architecture in an emerging neighborhood, or $72,000 in a modern condo in Fresno, that's turnkey but totally generic. Which one do you choose and why? I'm not talking about which one is easier. I'm asking which one aligns with your values as an investor. Character and authenticity versus modern convenience. Comment your answer and defend it. Are you a character person or a convenience person? Go ahead, I'll wait. The 90-day sprint was the most intense renovation we've ever done. To give you context, our Sacramento flip took 6 months, Oakland took 7, San Diego took 7, Fresno took 5, Bakersfield. And at 3 months flat from purchase to listing. Here's how it went down, week by week. Week 1 was all planning and permitting. We filed permits with the city of Bakersfield for the porch rebuild, roof replacement, electrical upgrade, HVAC installation, and plumbing work. Bakersfield's building department is shockingly efficient. Permits approved in 10 days. 10 days. For comparison, that same package in Oakland would take 8 weeks minimum. This speed was critical to our timeline. While waiting for permits, we ordered all the long lead materials. The custom porch columns had a 3-week fabrication time, so we ordered those immediately with rush fees. Roofing materials were in stock locally. Cabinets were semi-custom with a 4-week lead, so we placed that order day 3. Appliances, tile, fixtures, everything ordered and staged for delivery. We also hired crews simultaneously. Our general contractor assembled a team, demo crew, framing crew, roofers, electrician, plumber, HVAC contractor, floor refinishing company, painters, landscapers. Everyone on standby ready to move the moment permits cleared. Weeks 2 and 3, permits cleared and demo began. The demo crew came in like a tornado. Ripped out Bill's half-finished kitchen cabinets, tore out the old bathroom fixtures and tile, pulled up sections of damaged flooring, hauled away decades of accumulated trash, 2 full dumpsters in 3 days. The house was a shell, but a clean shell ready for new work. First major decision. Roof first. In Bakersfield, where summer heat is brutal, you seal the building envelope before doing anything else. The roofing crew showed up and spent 4 days stripping the old roof, replacing damaged decking and laying new shingles. When they finished, the house was weather-tight. One less thing to worry about. Simultaneously, the porch reconstruction began. The carpentry crew removed the rotting columns, dug out the old footings, poured new concrete, laid brick pedestals. The custom columns arrived in week 3, beautiful Douglas fir, perfectly square tapered. They set them in place, installed new decking, built new railings. By the end of week 3, that porch looked like it had been professionally restored by a historical preservation team. Week 4, exterior work continued. The siding repair crew spent a week replacing damaged boards, filling gaps, priming everything. Then the painters rolled in with the sage green, cream, and chocolate brown color scheme. Scaffolding up, sprayers running, detail brushwork around windows. By the end of week 4, the exterior transformation was complete. Neighbors were stopping by, asking what was happening. The house had gone from eyesore to showpiece. Weeks 5 and 6, interior systems. The electrician roughed in new circuits, upgraded the panel, rewired dangerous sections. The plumber replaced corroded galvanized sections with PEX, roughed in lines for the new kitchen and bathrooms. The HVAC contractor installed the mini-split system, outdoor unit mounted, indoor air handlers placed in strategic locations, refrigerant lines run through walls. All 3 trades working simultaneously, carefully coordinating to avoid conflicts. This is also when the drama hit. Our general contractor, the guy orchestrating all these moving pieces, got sick. Not COVID, just a bad flu, but he was down for 4 days in week 5. Without him on site managing, things started slipping. The electrician and plumber got into an argument about whose work took priority in a tight section of wall. And the demo crew left a pile of debris in the backyard that was supposed to be hauled 2 weeks earlier. Subcontractors started showing up late or not at all because there was no on-site authority pushing them. We had to step in. My partner and I started showing up at 7 a.m. and staying until dark, managing the schedule ourselves, making decisions on the fly, keeping everyone moving. It was exhausting but necessary. We lost about 4 days of productivity, but we clawed it back by extending work hours and running weekend shifts. Weeks 7 and 8, finishes started. The floor refinishing company came in and spent 5 days transforming those oak floors. Multiple rounds of sanding with progressively finer grits, staining in that medium walnut tone, sealing with 3 coats of poly. The smell was intense, windows open, fans running, but the results were spectacular. Those floors glowed. Drywall went up in the kitchen and bathrooms, taped and mudded smooth. The painters moved inside and started on walls and ceilings. The mustard yellow in the living room looked bold at first, but once the trim and beams were painted and the light hit it right, it was perfect, warm and inviting. The real magic happened when they stripped and refinished the exposed beams. A crew came in with chemical strippers, removed all that beige paint down to bare wood, sanded smooth, then applied a clear matte sealer. Suddenly those beams, hidden for decades, were visible again as structural elements with character and history. Same with the built-in cabinetry, stripped, sanded, refinished in natural oak. The craftsmanship from 1925 came back to life. Week 8 also brought another challenge. Bakersfield hit a heat wave, 112 degrees 3 days in a row. Working inside without AC yet was brutal. Crews were taking breaks every hour, chugging water, working early morning and late evening shifts to avoid the worst heat. We bought box fans and coolers full of Gatorade. It slowed us down, but not by much. Weeks 9 and 10, kitchen and bathroom installations. The semi-custom cabinets arrived and were installed. Shaker oak lowers around the perimeter, small island in the center. The quartz counters were templated, fabricated, and installed with the farmhouse sink. Subway tile backsplash went up. Appliances delivered and connected. Edison bulb pendants hung over the island. The kitchen came together beautifully. It felt craftsman with the natural wood and simple lines. But it functioned like a modern kitchen. Bathrooms got their subway tile walls and hexagonal floors. Walk-in showers, simple vanities, bronze fixtures, clean, classic, functional. These weren't showstopper bathrooms, but they were solid and appropriate to the style. Week 11, final details. Trim work, door hardware in oil-rubbed bronze, outlet covers, light fixtures throughout. The leaded glass windows that had been restored off-site were reinstalled. They sparkled. Landscaping crew came in and transformed the dead front yard into a xeriscape garden with agave, grasses, and landscape lighting. Final inspections from the city, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, passed everything first try. Certificate of occupancy issued. We were done with construction. Week 12, staging and photography. We hired a local stager who understood craftsman aesthetic. Vintage furniture, mission-style oak sofa and chairs, woven rugs in earth tones, pottery and plants in every room. Bookshelves with vintage books. Art from local Bakersfield artists. The vibe was craftsman artists retreat, someone who values history and authenticity. We scheduled professional photography for a late afternoon to catch golden hour light. The photographer spent 3 hours shooting every angle. Living room with those glowing oak floors and exposed beams, kitchen with the Edison lights and natural wood cabinets. That porch with the perfect columns catching sunset light. Aerial drone shots showing Old Town Kern's tree-lined streets and proximity to the dining district. When the photos came back, they were stunning. This didn't look like a flip. It looked like a lovingly restored historic home that had been in the same family for generations. Day 90, exactly 3 months after closing, we listed the property, the fastest flip we'd ever completed, and now we'd see if the market agreed with our vision. Before I show you the final numbers, let me tell you about the mistake I almost made that would have blown our 90-day timeline and our budget. Week 7, right when the floors were being refinished, I got an idea. The backyard was just dirt and weeds. We'd budgeted $0 for it because it wasn't visible from the street, and Old Town Kern buyers care more about historic character than outdoor space in 100-degree heat. But standing there looking at that blank canvas, I thought, right, what if we put in a small patio? Decomposed granite, string lights, maybe a fire pit, turn it into an outdoor living area. I called our contractor and asked for a quote. He came back with $8,000. Decomposed granite base, pavers, fire pit, irrigation for a few potted trees, string lights, furniture. I was ready to say yes. It felt like it would add value, make the house more complete. My partner shut it down immediately. Ju, we don't have $8,000 in the budget, and even if we did, we're on day 63 of 90. A backyard patio will take 2 weeks minimum with inspections, and will distract crews from finishing interior work. You'll blow the timeline and the budget for something buyers here don't even care about. He was right. I was making an emotional decision, not a strategic one. In San Diego or Oakland, that backyard might justify the cost. In Bakersfield's Old Town Kern, where summer heat makes outdoor living miserable and buyers are focused on interior character, total waste. I killed the idea. We left the backyard as basic dirt and called it What's Up Blank Canvas Potential in the listing. Lesson learned. Stick to your strategy. Don't chase shiny ideas mid-project. We decided on day 1 to focus on craftsman authenticity and interior quality. A backyard patio wasn't part of that vision. Discipline saved us $8,000 in 2 weeks. Now let me show you what we built. The before and after transformation was dramatic. Let me walk you through the same angles we shot in photography. Exterior before, sagging porch with rotting columns tilted at dangerous angles, old roof with missing shingles, cracked and peeling wood siding, broken windows, dead yard. It looked like a house waiting for a bulldozer. Exterior after, proud craftsman bungalow with rebuilt porch, featuring those perfect square tapered columns in chocolate brown, fresh sage green siding with cream trim, new roof clean and tight, restored leaded glass windows gleaming landscaped Gurscape yard with path lighting. It looked like a professionally restored historic property, worth every penny of $500,000 plus. Interior before, scratched filthy oak floors with finish worn off, exposed beams painted ugly beige, built-ins painted and hidden, half-finished kitchen with particle board counters and missing cabinets, basic outdated bathrooms. It was a construction zone frozen in time. Interior after, oak floors refinished to mirror, shine glowing in warm tones, exposed beams stripped back to natural wood, showing grain and character, built-in cabinetry restored in natural oak, Kitchen with shaker oak cabinets and quartz counters blending craftsman character with modern function. Bathrooms with subway tile and bronze fixtures feeling spade-like but period-appropriate. Every room honored the 1925 origins while functioning perfectly for 2026 living. We shot comparison photos from identical angles. Living room before/after. Kitchen before/after. Porch before/after. The transformation didn't look possible. Same house. Same 1,400 square feet. 90 days of focused work. The golden hour photography elevated everything. Warm light streaming through those leaded glass windows, Edison bulbs glowing in the kitchen, exposed wood beams casting shadows, the porch catching that last bit of sunset. The house looked alive, warm, inviting. It looked like home. We listed in early August 2026, summer in Bakersfield. Not peak season because of the heat, but Old Town Kern buyers are local or relocating, not seasonal. We priced strategically at $519,000. Our comp analysis showed Renovated Craftsman bungalows in Old Town, selling between $480 and $550. Ours was 1,400 square feet, smaller than some, but the quality of restoration was exceptional. That authentic porch rebuild, the refinished original floors and beams, the thoughtful kitchen that honored craftsman design. These details put us in the upper tier. The listing description emphasized authenticity. Fit meticulously restored 1925 Craftsman bungalow in Old Town Kern's vibrant dining district. Rebuilt porch with period-correct columns, original leaded glass windows restored, hardwood floors refinished, exposed beam ceilings, built-in cabinetry. Kitchen blends craftsman character with modern function. Walk to breweries, restaurants, galleries. This is restoration done right. Photos went live on MLS, Zillow, Redfin. We scheduled an open house for Saturday, 3 days out. The response was immediate but targeted. Not hundreds of saves like you'd see in coastal markets, but serious qualified buyers. Our agent got calls from remote workers relocating from LA and the Bay Area. A couple of local professionals who'd been searching for a craftsman, an architect who specialized in historic homes. Saturday open house, we opened at 1 p.m. By 2 p.m., 12 groups had come through. Over 3 hours, 22 groups total. Small numbers compared to coastal markets, but the comments were gold. This is exactly what I've been looking for. Authentic craftsman, not some fake renovation. The porch is perfect. Those columns are museum quality. The floors, oh my God, look at these floors. The exposed beams, the built-ins, this kitchen, someone actually cared about doing this right. I'm making an offer today. I'm not losing this. One couple in their early 30s walked in and the woman started crying. Her husband asked if she was okay. She said, my grandmother had a house like this in Pasadena. I always dreamed of living in a craftsman. I can't believe we can actually afford this. An architect spent 45 minutes examining details, the porch joinery, the beam connections, the window restoration. He turned to us and said, whoever did this knows craftsman architecture. Every proportion is correct. This could be featured in a preservation magazine. Sunday, we held a second open house. 16 more groups, similar enthusiasm. Monday morning, our agent called. When you've got 3 buyers ready to make offers. I'm setting a deadline for tonight at 6 p.m. By 6 p.m., we had 3 offers. Offer 1, $510,000. Conventional financing, 30-day close. Buyers were a young couple, first-time homeowners, pre-approved but stretching their budget. Offer 2, $519,000. Our full asking price, cash, 14-day close. This was a remote worker from San Francisco, relocating to Bakersfield, selling his Bay Area condo and paying cash here. Offer 3, $525,000, $6,000 over asking. Conventional financing with 20% down, 21-day close. Buyers were the couple from the open house where the wife had cried. They included a letter, "This house means everything to us. It's our dream. Please accept our offer. Tree. Here's my last comparison question for you before I give you the final numbers. We've looked at Sacramento, Oakland, San Diego, Fresno, and now Bakersfield. Across this series, all different timelines, all different markets. Sacramento took 6 months and netted solid returns. San Diego took 7 months and made 227 grand. Fresno took 5 months and made 132. Bakersfield took 3 months, and we're about to tell you the profit. So here's the question. Would you rather do a flip that makes $112,000 in 90 days, like this Bakersfield project, or one that makes $27,000 in 7 months like San Diego? Think about opportunity cost, about how many flips you could cycle through in a year, about risk exposure, speed versus absolute dollar size. Comment your philosophy below. Are you chasing big numbers or fast velocity? There's no wrong answer, just different strategies. Tell me where you stand. We reviewed all 3 offers carefully. Offer 2 was tempting. Cash, fast close, 0 risk. But it was 9 grand below offer 3. Offer 3 was the highest, but conventional financing meant appraisal risk and a longer timeline. The buyers were emotionally invested, which could work for us or against us. We countered offer 3. We'd accept 5 at 25, but we needed them to cover any appraisal gap up to $10,000 and close in 18 days instead of 21. Essentially, if the appraisal came in low, they'd bring extra cash to make up the difference up to 10 grand. That protected us from the deal falling apart. They agreed within an hour. They were that committed. The transaction moved smoothly. Their inspector came through and was actually complimentary about the quality of work. He noted the authentic porch restoration, the refinished floors, the properly upgraded electrical. His report had minor items. A GFCI outlet in the bathroom needed adjustment, some caulking around the tub, weather stripping on the back door. Total cost to fix, $200. We handled it same day. The appraisal came back at $515,000, 10 grand below purchase price. Normally that would kill a deal or require renegotiation. But because of our appraisal gap clause, the buyers brought the extra $10,000 in cash without blinking. That's how badly they wanted this house. 18 days after accepting the offer, we closed. $525,000 wired to our account. Keys handed to a young couple who sent us a thank you card, saying they'd cherish the house and honor its history. That felt good. Now let's break down the numbers, because this is where Bakersfield proves its case as California's secret weapon for house flipping. Purchase price, $275,000. The owner financed deal that gave us below-market entry and 0 competition. Down payment, $50,000 cash. The rest financed with a balloon payment at 12 months. Renovation costs, $72,000. Every dollar focused on authentic craftsman restoration and essential systems. Holding costs over 3 months, $8,000. This covered interest payments to bill at 6%, property taxes, insurance, and utilities. 3 months is fast. Every month we didn't hold it saved us money. Staging for 4 weeks, $2,000. Craftsman appropriate furniture and decor that sold the lifestyle. Closing costs at purchase, $5,000. Attorney fees for the owner financing contract, title insurance, and recording fees. Total investment, $362,000. That's our all-in cost, including the financed portion. Sale price, $525,000, $6,000 over our asking price. Real estate commission at 5%, $26,250. Covered both our listing agent and the buyer's agent. Closing costs at sale, $8,000. Title, escrow, prorated taxes, and various fees. Payoff of remaining balance to bill, $225,000 plus 3 months of interest at 6%, which was about $3,400. Total payoff, $228,400. Total costs and payoffs, $262,650. Net proceeds after everything, $490,350. Now here's where it gets interesting. Our actual cash invested was $50,000 down payment, plus $72,000 renovation, plus $15,000 in holding, staging, and costs. That's $137,000 in cash out of pocket. Net profit, $112,000 on $137,000 invested. That's an 82% return on our cash investment in 90 days, 3 months, but let me show you the truly insane number. If we annualize that return, take the 90-day ROI and project it over a full year, we get a 328% annual return. 328%. That's not sustainable or repeatable at scale, but it shows the power of velocity and flipping. Compare this to our other flips in the series. Sacramento, 6 months, 35% ROI. Oakland, 7 months, 35% ROI. San Diego, 7 months, 62% ROI. Fresno, 5 months, 90% ROI. Bakersfield, 3 months, 82% ROI, annualized over 300%. Bakersfield didn't have the highest absolute profit. San Diego made $227,000 versus our $112,000. But Bakersfield had the fastest velocity, 3 months versus 7. That means we could theoretically do 4 Bakersfield flips in the time it takes to do 2 San Diego flips. 4 times $112,000 is $448,000, almost double San Diego's profit in the same timeline with way less capital at risk. That's the power of secondary markets with fast permitting, affordable entry, and efficient execution. Let me give you the 5 biggest lessons from this Bakersfield flip that you can apply anywhere. Lesson 1. Velocity multiplies returns. OTTE. Making $112,000 in 3 months beats making $200,000 in 7 months when you factor in opportunity cost and how many deals you can cycle through. Every month you hold a property is capital locked up that could be working elsewhere. Bakersfield's fast permitting, available contractors, and efficient market let us move at light speed. Look for markets where you can execute fast, not just where prices are high. Lesson 2. Owner financing eliminates competition and creates opportunity. By structuring a deal directly with Bill, we avoided bidding wars, bank appraisals, and lengthy closing processes. Owner financing isn't common, but when you find it, especially in secondary markets where older owners want out without hassle, it's pure gold. Build relationships with estate attorneys, probate specialists, and agents who work with older sellers. Lesson 3. In historic neighborhoods, authenticity is everything. We could have slapped white shaker cabinets and gray quartz in that kitchen and called it done. But Old Town Kern buyers specifically seek authentic craftsman architecture. Every dollar we spent on period-correct details, porch columns, refinished beams, natural wood finishes, paid off in premium pricing and speed of sale. Know your market. Know what your specific buyers value. Lesson 4. Budget discipline under time pressure is critical. When I wanted to add that $8,000 backyard patio in week 7, killing that idea saved our timeline and our margin. Time pressure forces focus. You can't chase every shiny idea. Stick to your strategy. Execute what matters. Ignore the rest. Lesson 5. Secondary markets with emerging cultural momentum offer the best risk-adjusted returns. Bakersfield isn't sexy. It doesn't have the cachet of San Francisco or San Diego. But Old Town Kern has real momentum. Breweries, restaurants, young professionals moving in, limited historic housing stock, appreciation happening. These overlooked neighborhoods in secondary cities are where smart money should be looking. Lower entry costs, higher percentage returns, less competition. We also prove that you can do high-quality restoration on a tight budget and timeline without cutting corners. That $72,000 renovation looked like a $150,000 job because we were strategic about what mattered. This Bakersfield flip was special, beyond the numbers. We took a house that had been frozen in limbo for 20 years, half finished, half forgotten, representing abandoned dreams, and brought it back to life as a beautiful example of craftsman architecture that will serve a family for generations. The couple who bought it invited us to a housewarming party 2 months after closing. They'd furnished it with vintage craftsman pieces, hung family photos, planted herbs in the kitchen window. The wife pulled us aside and said, "Well, every morning I wake up and can't believe this is our house. Thank you for bringing it back, sir." That's legacy. Yeah, we made $112,000. Yeah, the ROI was 82% in 90 days. But we also preserved a piece of Bakersfield's history and created a home where a family will build memories. That matters. Bakersfield and Old Town Kern have hundreds more of these craftsmen. Many are in similar states, neglected, half-renovated, owned by older sellers who want out. The opportunity is massive for investors who understand authentic restoration, move fast, and aren't blinded by coastal bias. The broader lesson: stop chasing markets just because they're expensive or trendy. Sacramento, Fresno, Bakersfield, Stockton, Modesto. The Central Valley is full of affordable historic neighborhoods with real cultural momentum. Young professionals are fleeing the high cost of coastal California and discovering they can have authentic architecture, community, and quality of life inland. That's where the smart money should be flowing. $275,000 to $525,000 in 90 days. $112,000 profit, 82% ROI. The fastest flip in this entire series. Proof that velocity and authenticity beat ego and location every single time. Find the overlooked secondary market near you. Find the historic neighborhood with emerging cultural momentum. Find the owner, financed, or distressed property everyone else is ignoring. Restore it authentically and fast. Sell to buyers who will cherish it. Make exceptional returns and build something beautiful. That's the Bakersfield secret. That's the lesson. That's what's possible when you think differently and execute with discipline. Thanks for sticking with me for the full 70 minutes. If this changed how you think about where to invest, hit subscribe, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway, or tell me about the overlooked market in your area that everyone sleeps on. And if you're about to do a flip in a place people say is too small, or none, not worth it, send me a message. I want to cheer you on. Next up, we're going somewhere completely different again. Different market, different strategy, same core principles. Find value, execute with excellence, capture returns others miss. See you on the next flip. Let's keep building wealth and preserving history together.